Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so easy, at least it's easy for me, to see what somebody else is doing and their participation in a situation. It's a lot harder for me to see my role in it. And what was a big game changer for me, again, was just taking that full responsibility and accepting that I create my reality. So if I create my reality, why is my reality presenting me things that I don't like, that aren't in alignment with what I really want and desire in this life? And again, it was all about going back to my philosophies. A situation would occur that wasn't in alignment with my preferences, and it would allow me to say, okay, if I create my reality, then I've created this situation. And if the world is a reflection back to me, what I am, the parts of me that I can't see, then what is this example showing me about myself that I'm not aware of? And if I receive in life what I give, if I'm receiving crap, where am I giving crap unknowingly? And a lot of times it was those stories, and especially for me with relationships, it's a lot easier to have a good relationship with somebody that you just met. It's a lot harder or more challenging for me to go back to my relationship with my husband, because we have 9 years of history. We have 9 years of saying one thing and doing another. We have 9 years of saying, I love you, and then being mean and unkind to one another when we're not getting our way, or, we aren't behaving to our preferences. We had 9 years of heartache versus 9 hours. The first time you let somebody down, it's like, whatever, we're all human. The 1500th time that you let somebody down, then it starts to be like, well, I expected that all along. That's what they always do. That's what they did the last 1500 times. Why would it be any different this time? And this is what I realized in my relationship. So for like my behaviors of who I think Chrissy has to be, like Chrissy the daughter, that's 32 years worth of Chrissy the daughter. That's 32 years of me making choices and being what I thought I had to be in order to be loved and accepted from my parents. Now, was that personality that I created, was it all just a total facade? No. There were bits and pieces, absolutely, that are truly Chrissy, is Chrissy in every other place. But there are certain things that I realize, in a way, my parents still view me as this little kid. Well, that's just Chrissy. She's the baby, and she's always been the wild child, and she's always done this, and she's always done whatever she wants, and she's always been headstrong, and she's always done this and that. But those were things that they saw when I was like, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 years old. Now I'm 32 years old, but they still have that default image. It's kind of like looking at yourself in the mirror every day and then realizing one day you're really overweight. And it's like, well, wait a minute, I've seen this reflection every single day. How come today I'm seeing somebody that's overweight, but for the last 6 months, I just saw who I saw? It's because the mind hadn't the mind has an expectation of what it's going to see in the mirror. So you're actually going to see what you expect to see. And if you don't expect to see somebody that's overweight, you're not going to see somebody that's overweight. And on the same turn, when I was losing weight, I went from like a size 14 to a size 6, and I still saw a good size 12 in the mirror. People who were seeing me, who were, coming up to me, is like, gosh, you're so skinny, you're so small, look at how small you've gotten. And I was like, whatever, because I still saw the old image of me reflected in the mirror. And we do the same thing with people. And if you think about it, or when I think about it, it's like, gosh, there's certain areas that I don't talk about. There's certain behaviors that I don't do. There's certain things that I don't show. I share it with these people in my life, but I don't share it with these people in my life. Why is it okay to do here, but not here? And then I realize how many different little facades, how many different personalities, how many different personas, how many different hats I was wearing. And when I made a commitment to really uncovering the real Chrissy, the authentic Chrissy, the true, amazing being, gift to the planet that I am, because we all are. When I made a commitment to being my best self 360 degrees, no matter who is around or what's going on or what's happening, I gave myself a lot of freedom, and it was just a lot easier. I'm not big into lying. I'm not big into consciously lying to people. I find it to be very hard to juggle and remember who I said to what and what I said to who, and well, gosh, did I tell them that part or did I tell them this part and this and that? To me, it's always like a lot to juggle. And then I realized subconsciously I was doing the same thing. I had all these like little, it was almost as if like I showed up, okay, let me read my script for the day, okay, this is the character that I'm going to be, and then playing it out. When I really got into it, I could see it that way. I could sit down and write a list of the things that I do and don't say to my sister because she's my sister. And what am I picturing? I'm picturing me as 6, 7, 8 years old, her as 10, 11, 12 years old. Well, we're 32 and 36 now. We're both adults. We've both changed. We've both grown. We've both learned things. We're different people now. Why are we still behaving like we're 10 and 14? How come whenever my sister goes out for ice cream, she'll take a picture of her ice cream cone, text it over to me, say, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, I got ice cream. You know what I'm saying? These behaviors that we did, we're still carrying them over. And it's almost as if I still don't feel that my sister accepts me and loves me. I think that she still views me as the irresponsible, annoying little sister who can't be happy for what I have going on in my life because that's not cool. That's not what big sisters do. And it's very interesting when I started stepping outside and looking at this, at how much of these choices and interactions are so subconscious. I know she doesn't really feel that way, but she probably also doesn't realize that her actions are telling me this. But better yet, maybe I'm just interpreting her actions that way because of the story that I have in my head. The only way to get to the truth is for me to be in my truth all the time. All the time. I want my mom to be able to have a conversation with me like a girlfriend would have. I want my mom to be able to let down what she thinks she has to be a mom and just be a being on this planet, having an authentic heart-to-heart connecting relationship with another being. But I ain't never gonna get it if I'm still Jody's daughter every time that she shows up. The change starts with me. It starts with us. It's like Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. So an interesting thing that I've really taken into my relationships is a full 100% knowingness that my relationships are my mirrors. Because I believe the world around us is a reflection of what's within us. So then I started thinking about the people that are in my life, and especially the people that I'm closest with, like my husband and my parents, and you know, that small circle of people in our lives, or small circle of people that are in my life. I was thinking, okay, well, the people that I am the most intimate with, that I spend the most time around, that affect me the most, that influence me the most, what is it that they're trying to show me about myself? And I really, really believe that people, our relationships with others, are our best teachers. They are our best healers. I believe that what people show us are the areas of ourselves that we can't see for ourselves. And what we don't like in other people, what I don't like in other people, are the unconscious areas of myself that I don't like, that I don't approve of. Now, I heard this concept for a very long time before I could really, really own it. For years, I would say, because I can remember a work situation with a coworker about, 4 or 5 years ago, that I would tell myself that she's reflecting me, she's reflecting and showing me that she's a mirror of me, and I was pretty 100% positive that I was nothing like what this girl was like. She was, what I saw and what I interpreted from her was somebody who was not kind, who was very sneaky, who was manipulative, who was always kind of looking for a way to get me, who was always looking for a way to make me look bad in front of our boss. And I would adamantly say, I am nothing like her. I don't do that to her. These are all the things that she does to me, and I don't ever do that to her. Now, fast forward a few years of me really applying and believing and thinking and getting outside of myself and looking in, oh my goodness, I did everything that she was doing to me. Everything. The difference was that I felt 100% justified in all those situations. So I didn't even see that I was doing it, because to me, it was common sense. To me, I had all the reason and justification, and those stories were such a part of me, I didn't even realize that they were separate from me or something that I could choose to make different. And it took me being outside the situation and outside of myself and looking back in, reflecting back on the situations. And I was like, well, I'll be darned if I wasn't exactly to her what she was being to me. Not in the literal black and white, action for action, tit for tat kind of thing, but the overall essence and energy and everything, I was definitely being that back to her. So if I felt like I was a good person and I felt totally justified for the unkind actions that I was doing to her, what are the chances that she viewed herself as a good person and viewed herself as being justified and viewed herself, it's just a defense mechanism. That's all it is. It's just a defense mechanism. How can I get her before she gets me? How can I preserve my space without her taking it away from me? And it's all just illusions, but we really get invested in them and we really play them out. I get invested in them. I used to be really heavily invested in them. And there's still some areas that I have some investments that I'm not aware of yet. But I'm committed. I'm committed to being that which I want to receive. So now when I'm in a heated moment, when I'm having a conversation, and I start to feel that anxiety raise up, and I start to feel that anxiousness, and I feel my defenses, it's like I start checking to see what kind of emotional weapons I have on me to be able to defend myself. When I find myself starting to do that, instead of just jumping right into that, I see it for what it is. And I say to myself, okay, I don't like this emotion that's coming up. I don't like this feeling that I'm having. I'm going to use it as an indication to make a different choice. How do I want to be spoken to? What is it that I wish that other person that I'm having the conversation with, what is it that I wish that they would do right now? And how can I start being that to them? So if I want to be heard, if I want to be listened to, if I want to be understood, maybe I should stop in the moment, and instead of saying, I want you to hear me, and I want you to understand me, and I want you to listen to me, maybe if I just stop and start to be the things that I want to receive. If I stop trying so hard to fight to be understood, if I can just lay my weapons down and say, okay, can you repeat that again, because I'm having a hard time understanding where you're coming from. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Because it is, from my personal experience as well, when I start to understand where someone else is coming from, then I'm more likely to have them to understand where I'm coming from. Because again, if they're just unconsciously being defensive, and I'm not dealing with their true self, I'm just dealing with their survival self, I understand that, then I can make different choices that will lead to me being understood. Sometimes, a lot of times, because I think only about 3% of the population functions the way that I'm teaching y'all how to function today. So if 97% of the people that I deal with on a daily basis don't even know that defensive self is unnecessary and that it's not their true self and it's not, that it's just an illusion, that it's just a defense mechanism. If I know that 97% of the population is behaving that way, and if I know that anything that is not love is just an illusion, if I know that, and 97% of the people that I deal with on a daily basis are not aware of this, it is, I feel, my moral obligation to be the one in the understanding to not fall into that cycle. And then it comes from consistently not falling into that cycle with people that they start to shift their behaviors back towards me. So I'll stop myself in a situation. If I'm being spoken to in a manner that is out of alignment with my preferences or how I feel like I'm deserving to be spoken to, then I take the moment to change what I'm giving. If I want to be spoken to kindly, then even if it's like biting through my tongue, ego kicking and screaming, trying to make me do something to match that which I'm receiving, I will take that deep breath and I'll get myself back centered. And even if it's through gritted teeth, I will say something kind and I will change my voice and I'll just kind of slow things down. And a lot of times, like if it's in that real heated kind of moment where it's like my brain just really cannot work quick enough to tell me how to slow things down, sometimes I just stop, and I've shared this with everybody before. I'll just stop and say, I don't know how to fix this situation. I don't know how to change it. I don't know what I need to say to make you happy or how to diffuse it. But all that I do know, because I know that defensiveness in myself is just a bunch of BS as well. So if I'm feeling it and I buy into it in myself, I'm falling into my own illusion. Then what I'll do is that I'll stop in the moment and say, I don't know what kind thing to say or what to do to fix this or how to make this better, but what I do know is that I love you. And whenever we work through all this, bottom line, the truth, what I know to be true in this situation is that I love you. And that I want you to be kind to me and that I want to be kind to you. I do know that much. And a lot of times it's hard to argue that back. And even if they feel the need to argue, then I'll just say, I'm going to remove myself from the situation right now. And they can make up whatever story they want. I don't really care. They're your stories. Make up whatever you want. It leads to your own suffering. And I have no control over that. But I do have control over the choices that I make. I can choose what it is that I give. And I'll just say to myself, okay, I want to be spoken to kindly right now, so I'm going to speak back kindly to them. And even if it doesn't seem sincere, because my ego is fighting really, really hard to claim its space, I know in my heart of hearts, deep within me, it's the most sincere thing that I could possibly say. And a lot of times, especially in dealing with my husband, I'll say to him, when I stop myself in the moment and I'm like, well, I know that I love you and I'm not looking to have this argument or whatever it is that I say in the moment to kind of settle things down or at least change my gears. He'll look back at me and be like, well, now you just sound condescending because I know that you don't even really mean that. He takes it as something that it's not. And I'll have to stop again, because that's just another button that gets pressed, and there's a part of me that wants to jump up and be like, I am being sincere, But instead of doing that, I will look at him and say, just because if you were to say that to me right now in the conversation, it wouldn't be sincere, does not mean that I'm not being sincere. Because that's how we process things. Well, if I had said that, then this is what I would be feeling. Or if it had come out of me, then it wouldn't have been truthful. And I know, regardless of how my ego put it out there, that in my heart of hearts, in the very core essence of my being, I want to be truly, madly, crazy, deeply in love with every single person. I want to have that heart-to-heart, 100% acceptance, understanding, unconditional love. I want to have that from every single person, regardless if you're a relative of mine or a stranger that I'm passing, walking through a parking lot. I want to have that with every single person, so I know, ultimately, regardless of what my default habits are, ultimately, that is the truth. It is the truth. And the more that I practice it, and the more that it becomes, shift that first nature, because I believe that is our first nature, is to be unconditionally loving and accepting. I think that's our true nature, our first nature. And then how we use that saying, it's second nature. That's second nature. To me, second nature is the ego, the survival self. So I want to take my first nature and make that my second nature, so that no matter what's being presented, I always default back to love. So I'll stop in the moment, and then I will consciously choose to give that which I want to receive.